Hello everyone, this is Caleb Simpson here from ZeldaDungeon.net, and you're watching my video walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass for the Nintendo DS. Now that we have access to the Northwest Quadrant, there's actually a ton of stuff we can do here, and one of those things is Banon Island, which is in the top right corner. When you head there, there is an optional fishing side quest you can do, and this leads to eventually getting a heart container, as well as a wisdom gem and some ship parts from Joanne. So that is just prerequisite. The stuff we do in this video is prerequisite to getting that wisdom gem and stuff. We don't actually get those in this particular video, but I will show you how to get that heart container right now. So if you don't want to deal with any of this optional stuff, you can just skip ahead to the next video where I will continue on with other collection stuff as well as the main quest. Inside the only hut on the island, you'll find the Old Wayfarer, who is a fisherman, and his lifelong dream is to catch a mermaid and put it in the kiddie pool inside his building here. So he asks you to keep an eye out for mermaids. This next part is pretty vague. We need to make the mermaid appear, and in order to do so, we have to kill all of the enemies on the island. So once all of the enemies are defeated, the mermaid can be found in the water somewhere around Banon Island. And what you need to do, though, is if you get too close, then she'll actually just dive into the water and disappear. What you need to do is just keep your distance and kind of inch your way, walk slowly around the water. And once you can see her on the edge of the screen, you want to use your boomerang to smack her. After speaking with Joanne, go talk with the Old Wayfarer, whom she was going to go meet up with, and she's not actually here, so we'll have to figure out what's going on with that. Ciela points out that there might be a misunderstanding and that Joanne might have thought you were talking about Linebeck. So, let's go talk with Linebeck and see if he knows anything about our mermaid situation. Okay, so that was indeed a miscommunication, so continue on to the north, speak with the Old Wayfarer again, who is super excited to meet a mermaid, and so he will show you his thanks by giving you the fishing rod, which will allow you to fish out on the open sea. Now you can collect fish and bring them back to the Old Wayfarer to get various prizes, and eventually it leads to a heart container. Now whether or not you want to do all the fishing right now is all fine. You can just fish throughout the game steadily, but I will show how to do all of that in this video. Now at this point, it's up to you to decide if you want to do a lot of fishing or not. How this works is you wait until you find a fish icon on the map, and what they do is they tend to just circle around the map. So in this case, this one's probably going to go north, maybe a little bit northwest, but then it'll just make a circle and go all the way around to the bottom right of the map as well. So it'll just make this big circle around the entire map. So because of that, I'm going to cut it off, and I'm going to get it while it's heading north. So that's why I cut across the near the Isle of Gust, and I'm going north a little bit so that I'll intercept the fish by the time it gets there. Once you've caught up with it, or it swims underneath you want to tap the menu button and then the fish icon to start fishing. When you go fishing for the first time, then a disembodied voice will give you instructions on how to do it. And these basics, I'm not sure who's even saying all these things, if it's Ciela, or it's Linebeck, or it's the Old Wayfarer somehow. I don't understand. I don't know who's talking. I'm assuming it's Ciela, just because she's the one talking to us all the time. Anyway, how it works is a fish will come up and you'll see it bite on the line, and what you have to do is to catch it with the hook, you need to press on the screen with the stylus. And as soon as you catch it that first time, now it's on the hook, and what you need to do is you'll notice this bar on the left, and what that does is it determines how close the fish is to getting off your hook. You need the status to be green, and so what you want to do is you hold the stylus on the screen, so if the fish is in the middle, you need to hold it in the middle of the bottom screen, or like on the bottom middle. If the fish is on the right side, you need to hold the stylus on the bottom left of the screen. If the fish is on the left side, you need to hold the stylus on the bottom right of the lower screen. So that's how that works. You just keep the stylus on the lower screen somewhere, and that will raise the bar. The only other thing you need to know is that the fish will jump out of the water. You need to let go of the stylus whenever that happens. But otherwise, anyways, you get your status green, and then what you want to do is draw little circles on the screen. And just either clockwise or counterclockwise, it doesn't matter. But draw little circles, and this is what reels the fish in. While you're reeling, then you lose your status really fast, whatever you want to call that, your strength. So you need to hold the stylus again to get it in the green zone again. So you just alternate between holding it in the correct direction, of course, and then drawing little circles. And that's how you reel the fish in. So just keep doing that until eventually you pull the fish in. If you are reeling while the fish is in midair, then you will lose your fish. If you let it get into the red zone, you can lose your fish. And if you don't tap it in the first place, you'll never get the fish on your hook to begin with. So that's how you fish. That's the basics. There isn't really much else to it. It just, as the fish get harder, you basically just lose your little bar faster is kind of the only difference. And that they take more reels to get it all the way back to your boat. So with the basic fishing rod, we actually have 3 different fish available to us, and you can keep catching them if you want, just for practice purposes, but we only really need the third one. So the 3 different types of fish is there's a little blue one that's called a skippyjack, which is worth nothing. There's the tuna, which is like kind of a medium-sized brown fish, and that one is also kind of worthless, doesn't do anything for you. But the louver is a kind of fat purpley fish. It's kind of very round fish, and that guy is very plump, and those guys are actually worth something, and those are the ones that we want. So we need to find a louver, and what you can do is you can fish, and once you start seeing that a fish isn't actually a louver, you can just cancel fishing entirely. So if it's a little brown fish or a little blue fish, you can just cancel fishing entirely. We don't need a skippyjack, we don't need a tuna. Now, I am actually fishing for them right now just to show. So I have a clip here of one of each type of fish, and the only reason that I can think of that you would want the lower tiered fish is just because if you want to, just for cool points, or if you're like just to keep catching them until you get the biggest one of each size just for your collection status or whatever, or if you want to practice on the lower tiered fish because they're easier to get you ready for the harder fish. That would be the only reasons that I can think of as to why. But just so you know, at the very beginning, you don't have to like work your way up to a louver as far as like some people think that maybe it changes the spawn rate or whatever, or fish will appear more often if you catch lower tiered fish. I did a lot of tests, and that is not true. It's totally random. It's actually not technically random. It's a little more complicated than that. But anyway, suffice to say, the louver can appear, the very first fish you get can be a louver. So yeah, there is no reason to catch skippyjacks and tuna. So if you are fishing and you see one of those on your line, cancel fishing and go hunt for another louver. So once you have caught a louver, you want to go back and talk with the Old Wayfarer, and as I was saying earlier, the skippyjacks and tunas do not get a reaction out of him, only the louver does. So once you've caught one of those, you want to bring it to the Old Wayfarer, and he will give you the big catch lure, which allows you to finally see a rusty swordfish. Now, how this works is they will just be in the pool of potential fish that you will see. Eventually, there is a swordfish icon on the map that can appear as well. It's super rare. That is later in the game. And the reason I point that out is because like when I replayed this game, I was confused and I was like, well, I haven't seen the swordfish icon, so I'm not going to go after that fish. But what it is regular fish icons can be a rusty swordfish. So just from now on, you just fish. And once again, as I was just saying before, like if it's not the right kind of fish, you just stop fishing and you go move on. And then so you just keep trying the fish icons. But as soon as they jump out of the water and you can see what kind of fish it is, if it's not a swordfish moving forward, then don't catch it. It's just not worth it. Okay, so where is the best place to fish? Now, my vote gets the northwest quadrant. The enemies are relatively easy, they give a decent amount of rupees, and they generally kind of leave you alone, but also there's multiple ports that are easy to get to. And also the fish just tend to go clockwise or counterclockwise all around the entire map, so they're very predictable as far as their pathing, where they're going to go. So I think that makes them overall the easiest. The southwest quadrant is a little bit more awkward. You do have 2 teleport points though, so that's a little bit nicer. So yeah, I'd say overall the northwest quadrant is the best place, but also there's 2 different ways that you can make fish appear. You can either go to a dock and then leave the dock and start hanging out on your boat, or you can, and then just keep doing that over and over again. And one of the interesting things about that, actually, is you can use that to your advantage to make a fish change position. So if a fish is like to the far north, and you're like, oh, that's too far away, you go to a port, then you leave the port, and now the fish is in the far south. And so you're like, oh great, now it's closer, and then you can go to it. So it doesn't change the fact that there's a fish icon present at all, it just makes it so it's closer. So that's a nice little trick. And otherwise, the best way to make a fish icon appear, what I found through a lot of testing, is to just sit there. Like, the best way to place to do it is just at any port. So you use a port, and you start getting back in your boat, and then you just cancel drawing a route. So you're just sitting there, like, looking at your boat. You're not drawing on the lower screen at all. You're just sitting there, like, in regular boat status where you can shoot your cannon and everything, and you're just watching your map. And you just keep doing that until you see a fish icon appear, and then you draw a route, and you can intercept it. And again, you can either go towards it and intercept it that way, or you can go, like, the opposite direction. So if the fish is working its way counterclockwise around the map, then you go clockwise, and eventually you meet up with it. After you've gotten the Big Catch Lure too, by the way, the Old Wayfarer will send you a letter in the mail. Now, it only actually sends to you after you have, like, reopened your game and the date has changed. So if you put down the game and you come back a few days later or whatever, then you're going to get this letter. So you can't actually force this to happen, though, by turning off your console, changing the date in your system settings, and then firing up Phantom Hourglass again. You can get this letter. Anyway, the prize for this is a ship part. So once you have that, you can head into the house to meet up with the Old Wayfarer again. So now that we've collected a rusty swordfish, we want to hand that into the Old Wayfarer, and he will tell us a legend about Neptuna, the legendary swordfish. So what this does, this gives us access to swordfish icons on the map. So now you have regular fish icons that go around the map, and they have all the fish all the way up until rusty swordfish. And then you have swordfish icons, and those will have mostly rusty swordfish, and they will occasionally have the legendary Neptuna. And the percent chance for it to be a Neptuna is about 17%, is what the data I gathered suggests. So it's about 1/6 of the time. So at this point, you have 2 options. You can either go and try and find a swordfish icon and make it spawn, and then hopefully get a Neptuna and then hand it in to get a heart container. And I actually didn't do that for this walkthrough. What I did is I decided to do the other method, which is just to wait. So now that we have the option of swordfish icons appearing, I'm just going to go about my adventure, and whenever I see a swordfish icon, I'm going to go hunt it down and fish for it, and hopefully get a Neptuna. So that's what I decided to do in this walkthrough, and I actually changed my mind partway through the guide, and I'll explain that later. But anyways, for the sake of this particular video, I do have some footage of me catching Neptuna just to show it all in one video. So for those of you following along with my collection status, just know that I didn't actually catch Neptuna right now, and I didn't get that heart container. I will be getting that several videos from now, and I will let you know when that happens. So now that we can see swordfish icons, you want to set sail, and at this point I'm actually going to switch to some different clips from a different playthrough of me catching Neptuna real quick. Just for clarification, at this point in the walkthrough I did not catch Neptuna, because I was putting it off for later, but I'm going to put a bunch of fishing videos together in the same video just so that I can talk about it all at once. So, here's one of the questions that people ask me all the time, and other people online, is how do you find a swordfish icon? Like, they don't appear very often, they're kind of rare, so is there any way to, like, make it happen sooner, or, like, what's the trick to making it work? And so here's what I found. I see a lot of people theorizing, saying things like, oh, if you just fish a lot with regular fish, then eventually that'll make a swordfish icon appear, and as far as I can tell, that is not true. Here is the guaranteed way to make a swordfish icon appear, is that when you leave a port, there's about a 25% chance that a swordfish icon will appear after about 30 to 45 seconds. So it doesn't take very long, but one comment about that is time has to be moving. So time is not moving when you're drawing a route, when you are fishing for something else, when you're talking with somebody, when you go to like Beetle's shop or whatever, or you're looking at menus and stuff like that. So what you need to do is you leave a port and then you start sailing a little bit, or you cancel drawing a route. So you're just sitting there where you can shoot your cannon, but you're not actually moving anywhere, but you're not drawing a path for your boat. When you're in that stasis, then the time will progress normally. So you can actually leave a port, cancel drawing a route, and you're just sitting there, but time still passes. And one of the advantages of that is when you're leaving a port like that and then you cancel drawing a route, is you're just sitting there, but enemies don't attack you. So you can just hang out there, and then you just watch TV or something like that, and then you just look over, and if there's a swordfish icon, great, you go to it. If not, go back to the port, leave the port again, and cancel drawing a route, and wait again. And you just keep doing that, and again, there's about a 25% chance that a swordfish icon will appear somewhere on the map. So you just keep going to ports over and over again until a swordfish appears. Like, literally, you are guaranteed to get a swordfish icon. And each swordfish icon has about a 17% chance to be a Neptuna. So if you start fishing and then it's totally a red color, then it's a rusty swordfish, and just cancel fishing, go back to a port, leave the port again, wait once more, and then find the swordfish icon again. And again, it's a 17% chance. So eventually you will see a Neptuna. And so this way you can guarantee that you see one. So, quick, embarrassing Neptuna story for you guys. When I first played Phantom Hourglass, I did not pay attention during the whole fishing tutorial thing that they make you go through. And I was just tapping my way through it. I was like, oh, yeah, this seems super basic. But I was just paying attention more so to the icons on the screen that they were showing. And one of the ones that confused me was actually the little arrows. They had little arrows pointing from the middle prow of the ship pointing down to either side. Pointing down towards the corners. They were talking about, like, holding your stylus in the opposite direction of the fish, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to draw lines, which is totally wrong. So what I was doing is, like, say the fish was in the top right corner, I was putting the stylus in the top middle of the screen, and then dragging it down to the bottom left, and then releasing it and repeating, which is bad, because if you have it in the wrong location, then you lose progress, but also you lose progress every time you lift the stylus up. So I was just drawing frantic lines for the entire time during fishing, and it was fine for the early ones, but for the later ones, it was really hard. It did work, but it was just, I was just like, just drawing these frantic lines, and I did finally do it, and I went through the entire side quest and caught Neptuna doing it that way, which was totally wrong. You're supposed to hold the stylus on the screen in the correct location, and yeah, so it was just horrible. So I think Neptuna took me something like 20 minutes, but I did manage to do it, which was absolutely awful. So anyways, and then I played the game the second time, and I was like, oh no, and I finally read the instructions, and I realized my mistake. But I look back at that now, and I think to myself, man, if only I knew somebody who did walkthroughs for a living, right? So, once you have caught Neptuna, go ahead and bring it to the Old Wayfarer, and he will give you a heart container. Now, as I've explained a couple times, I did not actually get this heart container right now during my playthrough. This clip you're watching right now is from a different playthrough that I just threw in there, so I had all the fishing stuff together, so I could talk about it all at once. So you can either force it to spawn, and this is how you do it, and you can get that heart container right now at this point in the walkthrough. It's actually kind of nice, because if you do it now, you don't have to worry about, like, Jolene, like, sailing around the Northwest Quadrant either, so it's actually pretty convenient to do it now. Anyways, I did end up forcing Neptuna to spawn later, and there's reasons for that, but I'll explain once I get to that point. Okay, so all of those events, here's the order. You go to the Wayfarer, you do all the stuff with Joanne or whatever, you get the fishing rod, you go catch a lure, you bring the lure to the Old Wayfarer, he gives you the big catch lure, which lets you see rusty swordfish in the regular fish icons, and then you bring a rusty swordfish to the Old Wayfarer, and then he lets you see the swordfish icons, which is the only place that you will see Neptunas. So whatever you decide to do, you can either force Neptuna to spawn and get that heart container right now, and it's kind of a nice point in the game to do it right now, because we don't have to deal with Jolene sailing around the Northwest Quadrant either, so you don't have to fight her over and over again. So that's a convenient thing in and of itself. But otherwise, you can just wait until you see swordfish icons in general, and then just fish for Neptuna then. Whew, thus concludes the, most in-depth fishing side quest guide for Phantom Hourglass you have ever seen. You might say it was overkill, but I say necessary. There is no overkill, there is only kill. So that concludes this video, folks. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more, then be sure to subscribe both to Zelda Dungeon and myself for similar content in the future. And as always, keep being awesome, and I'll see you guys next time.